When it comes to flagship smartphones, it has always been about elegant curves and shiny materials with charming looks. But none of these delicate smartphones could take a single fall. Well, Motorola seems to have different principles, which is why they came up with the Moto Z Force series. This is the Moto Z2 Force, a phone that carries forward a brave design and hopes to make a crack in the smartphone universe, and that itself is an ironic statement for it. Hey, this is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and let's get into this review. Before jumping into the video, don't forget to subscribe to the Mr. Phone channel if you haven't yet, and also click that bell icon right next to it so that you're the first one to know as soon as we drop a new video. The Moto Z2 Force is probably one of the most uniquely designed phones released last year. That's not so much because of the visual design, but more due to the utilitarian design. It's not the thinnest phone on paper, but it feels thinner than most phones I've used. That might also be partly because while other phones claim to have a thinner frame, they are usually considerably more thicker towards the center. However, the Moto Z2 has a flat back. The buttons are also amazingly well built. They are very clicky, and while they are the most overlooked part of a smartphone, Moto did a good job here. However, there's one thing that they should have taken care of. It's the size of these buttons. These buttons are a little too small for my liking, but apart from that, I think the experience is really good. The bottom hosts a single USB-C port, which is also the only port on the Moto Z2 Force. Yes, it's lost its jack, just like Rose. The back is mostly a clean plate with the Motorola logo and magnetic connecting pins for the Moto mods. Now, for most people, the first thing you buy after you get your expensive phone is a case to protect the screen. Well, the Moto Z2 Force does not need one. The screen has a shatterproof glass on top that Moto has been perfecting for quite some time. Basically, the screen is unbreakable, and it's also one of the best I've used. It's AMOLED with pitch blacks and poppy colors. The big black bezels on the top and bottom bring the screen aspect ratio of the Moto Z2 Force to 16:9 and not 18:9. Well, I don't actually mind it. I've been using 18:9 phones all the time, and when I shifted to the Moto Z2 Force, I didn't feel a big difference. The display also gets appropriately bright for outdoor conditions. Usually AMOLED displays struggle with sunlight visibility, but this one does a decent job. Below the display sits the fingerprint scanner, and it's freaking awesome. I think OnePlus gets too much limelight for being the fastest fingerprint scanner. All Moto phones I've used have had really fast and at the same time really accurate fingerprint sensors, and the Z2 Force is no different. Fingerprint gestures is also a brilliant idea. I got used to it really quickly, and along with being intuitive, it frees up a lot of screen real estate. While the whole multimedia experience looks good, there is one part that ruins it all for me. There is one speaker on the Z2 Force, and it's the earpiece that doubles as a single speaker. It's tinny, it's muffled at times, and is possibly one of the worst parts of an otherwise solid phone. The Moto Z2 Force, like all Moto phones, comes with a near stock Android experience, which I'm a fan of. The near stock experience makes sure that the skin is as light as possible, which in turn means that the processor is able to push the best performance out of it. I'm a stock Android fan, and I felt right at home with the Z2 Force. And to top it off, it now runs on Android 8.0 Oreo, which means that you get to enjoy all of Google's latest features like autofill, smart text selection, advanced notification grouping, etc. on the Moto Z2 Force. Moto phones also come with a few Moto-specific apps, which adds interesting functionality to these devices. Moto Actions lets you make a lot of gestures like swipe to shrink the screen, pick up to stop ringing, or the popular chop chop for flashlight. You also get Moto Voice, where you can set up a custom launch phrase and do certain tasks just using your voice. All in all, the software experience is very clean with a touch of Moto. When it comes to performance, the Moto Z2 Force is a beast. I've never had any lagging issues. Games run very smoothly, and it's just a bliss to use it. The Snapdragon 835 inside also makes sure that the power efficiency is taken care of. Daily apps also run without a hiccup, with basically no traces of overheating. The multitasking is also an amazing experience. You can feel that 6 gigs of RAM in your hands when you're multitasking. apps stay in memory for longer, and even big games reload right where you pause them. The Antutu score for our Moto Z2 Force was 210,000. Here you can see a comparison of the Antutu score with other phones in the similar price ranges. The performance is never going to be an issue here, and I think it is undoubtedly one of the strongest areas of the Moto Z2 Force. The Z2 Force has a decent camera. I've never been a fan of Moto cameras, and there were barely any devices that really stunned me. Now, talking specs, on the back you have a dual camera setup with two 12 megapixel cameras at f2.0. On the front we've got a 5 megapixel camera with a selfie flash for low light situations. Now the Z2 Force seems very average, as I said earlier. The pictures come out looking just fine with good details and colors, but it has never been mind-blowing. The lens used also seems a bit too average, which is probably why there is a lot of flaring. The low light shots are also not exciting enough. They have a lot of noise, they don't get details very easily. Taking videos on this is also not the best experience. EIS does work, but the output doesn't look as good as what other competitors in the same price range produce. Basically, if you're buying a phone for the camera, then I think the Moto Z2 Force might not be the best option. Now coming to the battery, this has been the part where I've had the most mixed feelings. I have not even been able to come to a verdict yet. So here are my thoughts. The Z2 Force has a below average battery life. It loses charge very quickly and you end up charging it several times in a day. The 2780 mAh battery size inside also indicates the same. However, I personally never felt the battery being a big issue. On the flip side, I was getting a lot of battery out of it. That's because I never used it without the battery mod. Now the mods could have in another section, but the reason I bring it here is that the battery mod comes along with the phone here in India. And once you experience how easy your life becomes with it, you'll never take it off. Using the Moto Z2 Force was a unique experience for me because apart from a few times in the beginning, I never connected the phone to a wall charger. I never had to put my phone down to get it charged, which was more convenient than you can ever imagine. I always had the phone with me while the mod would be plugged to the wall to get charged. The software also lets you choose between a slow charge or a turbo charge when the mod is connected, which is simply genius. This was purely a unique experience, but there's one caveat. The mod makes the phone very bulky and it's very clunky to carry it around. It feels so much thicker than the phone actually is, and this might be a turn off for a lot of people. Motorola's turbocharger charges your phone really quickly. It's probably second only to dash charge, and I think that says it all. A shatterproof display, a unique sturdy design, a gorgeous 2K panel, snappy performance, and a price tag that does not do this phone justice. The Z2 Force is a reliable package. It doesn't go crazy on a lot, but it gets the job done with the least hassles. So you can get the Moto Z2 Force for this price in India. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what other videos you want to see. Please let me know what you thought of this video. We also now have the community tab on YouTube, so you can ask away all your questions and give us all your video suggestions too. Thank you so much for watching again. This is Sreehari from Mr. Phone, and I'll see you in the next one.